Um, Thank you, everyone, for being here and joining us to celebrate the launch of these three exceptional poetry collections, plus our guest for this evening, who is also celebrating a chapbook release and just being an exceptional poet in their own right. Um, my name is Chris, and I'm the managing editor of Art Poetry Magazine. If you are on Twitter and saw Manahil Bendakwala saying that she was supposed to be hosting this evening, unfortunately, she had to cancel or wasn't able to make it. So you're stuck with me. I'll do the best that I can. Um, but first, I think I'll start with, let's start with some housekeeping stuff. You may notice that you are unable to unmute yourself. We are only allowing our guest speakers this evening to unmute themselves and read their poems. You can feel free to turn on your camera, but we are recording this. So if you do turn on your camera, then you should be prepared to potentially appear in a recording. If you want to chat amongst yourselves or drop some questions for the readers, into the group chat, then feel free to do that. And we will get to your questions during the conversation later on. This is the last stop on these poets' virtual tour celebrating their books. So let's make it one not to forget. And I'm sure they'll do that on their own. We can also do that by being encouraging and thoughtful listeners. We should also be thoughtful and cognizant and knowledgeable of the land that we're taking place on. I understand that this is a virtual event, so people may be chiming in or zooming in from all across this land that we call Canada today. But ARC and our co-hosts, Octopus Books, are located on the unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. The peoples of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land, and it is our duty to respect and honor those teachings, their teachings. We also have to, or I also want to acknowledge that this is the last day of June, the last day of a very long and very hard month for a lot of Indigenous people. And tomorrow is going to be probably the worst way to cap it off. It's hard to think of celebrating a country that has been in the news for pretty much all the wrong reasons recently. If you are a settler like myself on this land, then I strongly encourage you to take tomorrow to listen and be mindful of the Indigenous people in your life, or just Indigenous people in general. Read the Truth and Reconciliation Actions, read some maybe uplifting work by Indigenous people. They're full of multitudes. Engage with Eden Robinson's books. They're amazing. Listen to Tanya Tagaq or Jeremy Dutcher. I do what feels right for you, but also take the time to really acknowledge your position and the privilege that you have. I wrote 3 introductions, and now that I have completely ignored all of them, I think I should stop taking up space and introduce our readers of the evening. Oh wait, one more thing I think I should touch on before I do that is that the open conversation at the end of this event is going to be between our readers, and they very well might be discussing things that are hard for some of our viewers to listen to. If that is the case for you, then we encourage you to practice self-care, to leave if you need to, and there are lots of resources available to anyone who finds topics of intergenerational trauma or the residential school system. People can find that triggering. So I will drop some links that I have pulled up and phone numbers that you can use if you are feeling triggered by any of the conversation. I'll drop all that in the group chat. So be mindful and be good to yourself. All right. So with that all out of the way, once again, thank you all for being here. Our readers are going to be introducing each other, so I'm going to be just giving their introductions all at once right now, and we will move seamlessly from one to the next. And in order of what they'll be appearing in tonight, gosh, our first reader is Molly Cross-Blanchard. Sorry, I don't have your book because the review copy that ARC got is already with a reviewer, but I do have this postcard that's explicit. Molly Cross-Blanchard is a white and Métis writer and editor born on Treaty 3 territory, raised on Treaty 6 territory, and living on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. She holds an English BA from the University of Winnipeg and a creative writing MFA from the University of British Columbia, and is the publisher at Room magazine. Before Molly is actually going to be Aedan Corey, our guest reader for the evening. Aedan Corey is a two-spirit Inuk writer, musician, and artist. Their first chapbook, sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, Aedan, Inuujunga, is out from Coven Editions, and writing became an interest of theirs at a young age. Aedan was raised in Nunavut, and their artistic endeavors are heavily influenced by their experiences growing up in the North, their passion for their culture, how that influences their identity, and advocacy for Indigenous peoples. Aedan currently resides in Ottawa. So after Aedan and after Molly is going to be Selina Boan. Selina is a white settler, Nihiwa writer living on the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish peoples. Her debut poetry collection, Undoing Hours, was released this spring with Nightwood Editions. Her work has been published widely, including the Best Canadian Poetry 2018 and 2020. She has received several honors, including the 2017 National Magazine Award for Poetry, and was a finalist for the 2020 CBC Poetry Award. She is currently a poetry editor with Rahila's Ghost Press and a member of the Growing Room Collective. And finally, rounding out our readers for the evening is Dallas Hunt. Dallas is Cree and a member of Wapseswis Swan River First Nation in Treaty 8 territory in northern Alberta. He has had creative works published in Contemporary Verse 2, Prairie Fire, Prism International, and ARC. His first children's book, Oasis and the World Famous Bannock, was published through Highwater Press in 2018 and nominated for several awards. And his new book, Creeland, was released by Nightwood Editions in 2020. Hunt is an assistant professor of Indigenous literatures at the University of British Columbia. And now you don't have to listen to me anymore. So take it away, Aedan.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone. Inuujunga ikalaktutia knuto yunga 22 nek kaktunga. That's just a quick introduction of myself and Inuktitut. My name is Aedan, or Uviluk. I'm from a community in Nunavut named Ikalaktutia, or otherwise known as Cambridge Bay. I'm a 22-year-old writer and artist currently living in Ottawa, like Chris said. Thank you, Octopus Books and Art Poetry, for having me. And thank you for the other authors as well. I'm going to be reading partly from my chapbook Inuujunga, but I've also added in some newer stuff that I've been working on. Koyanamik for your time and for your listening ears. So I'm going to begin with a poem titled Angalaktuk, which means they go home. The dirt roads cough dust in your face, grains of the dry desert earth in your eyes, in your lungs, in your hair, so that you carry it wherever you may go. As you drive by, people nod their hellos. At the grocery store with your parents, people stop to quinnick your cheeks, telling you the last time they saw you, you were this big, that you look like your mother now. It's a time of year that the sun and the sky are inseparable lovers. They kiss you goodnight as you close the curtains to sleep, kissing you good morning 8 hours later. The way out of town brings you past the airport where you've watched many planes take off in your lifetime. It brings you away from the town you grew up in, to the land you often miss, to the cabin by the ocean, your grandfather's boat on the shore. Your father spent years on this cabin, building it up from the ground, from plywood to now puzzles sitting on the table left unfinished, another summer's battle. You kiss your family goodbye as the sun had kissed you for your time there. They will be watching your plane take off as they have watched many planes take off before. You watch out the window as life gets small, a life you won't live for a while, until the next time you go home. The next one is a sad little poem about my late grandfather. It's titled Ikamavi. Do you remember the day you took your jacket and boots, leaving without a word? It was late August, and later that evening, a cool fog rolled over the land, a blanket comparable to the one draping over your mind. You were always a wanderer. You remembered that much. A community's worth of people searched for you then, all of them knowing the importance of immediacy. They found you laying on the ground, tired of walking, searching for home, as you told them, not realizing that your home was the place you begun the day. That August memory for us remains, though you had forgotten by morning. The next one is titled Nukak. Little sister, there will be times you feel alone in a room full of people. It is the price of small town living that can drive you to your edge before trying to push you off. I will catch you. I remember you as a child, all cheeks and energy, a mother's girl. You sought attention I was unwilling to let you have from her. You have grown while I've been away, and I've been away for some time in different forms now. My footing is unclear. You see, I've never been a sister before, though I know enough to see the constant with my eyes closed. I will catch you, little sister. In this room full of people, you are not here alone. And the next is berry picking. When the cold visits, an old friend we wished goodbye months ago, we know that it's time to bundle layers of clothing to face the wind that will surely greet us. As we search the Nuna for red pearls sour to taste, Ziploc bags growing heavy under the weight of our efforts, fingers grow numb in the chilling air, children string juicy red beads together to hang up and dry, finer than any jewel. Success is returning home with rosy cheeks and bags full to the brim. And on the road home. The hair on the gravel road that led home from our cabin had been alive at some point. I say at some point because when we found it, it was almost as if death had forgotten to take all of it. leaving enough life to be capable of the fear of both dying and somehow living for a second longer. My sister and I, we were young then, though old enough to know the inevitability of what was about to happen. Mother made us look elsewhere, an easy job in comparison to that of my father, who graciously took the hair's fear away. The rest of the drive home was silent, as if death had plucked the noise out of the world along with the life of the hair on the road. I have a couple of poems left. So with the news of everything that's been happening in Canada, it's been weighing heavily on my mind, as I'm sure it has been for many others. And I wanted to write out my feelings for a while, but I couldn't. And 2 days ago, I was finally able to. This is the poem that I wrote. The Shoes That Could Not Be Filled. I was about 11 when I cried myself to sleep, imagination wild with the thought of being taken from my parents. But I laid, weary head on pillow, wet with tears made by mother's hands, slept and woke the next day to their faces greeting me good morning. I grew next to them. When growing meant love, when growing meant pain, when growing meant change, I grew next to them. Now growing feels like a privilege. Love feels like a privilege. When children who are not given the chance to feel growing aches are found buried in the ground. And now we weep as we have wept for lifetimes over shoes that should be filled with the feet of our children. I cut the sealskin the way my grandmother showed me. I sew stitches with intent, orange ribbon atop the smallest coming I could make to place under sunset skies with hundreds of others unable to be used. I imagine barefoot children running home. And lastly, on a bit of a brighter note, this poem is about pride. It's called Upigia. On the phone with my aunt, I ask her, as I have many times over, for a translation. The word for pride. Over the years, I have learned the importance of such a feeling. Once diminishing myself, shine dulled to rust. Once hiding the parts that made others uncomfortable. While there is no direct translation, the modesty of Inuit, a cultural virtue, searching for one word, I am left with another, meaning many things, but most importantly, appreciation. To the person that felt so deeply that they did not deserve pride, I appreciate you. Who you are, your very essence is worthy. I appreciate you. I am proud of you. Upihiya. Koyanami. And next we have Molly Cross-Blanchard, very talented. Take it away.
Oh my God, Aedan. That was, I'm like pretty choked up, to be honest. I kept like looking up at my little picture and I was making my cry face. No, that was stunning. Like the combination of your, like the emotional language you're using and the very rhythmic quality of it, and then just your delivery, that blew me away. So thank you so much. Hello everyone. My name is Molly Cross-Blanchard. I'm a white and Métis writer from, I was born on Treaty 3 in Fort Frances, Ontario. I was raised in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan on Treaty 6, and now I am living and broadcasting currently from the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, which is currently and colonially known as Vancouver. Thank you so much to Octopus Books and to ARC Magazine for hosting us. This is the last stop on our summer tour, and it's been a blast. Like, as much as a virtual poetry tour can be a blast, it really has been, and that's in part due to our hosts and also our guests. Thank you again, Aedan, for joining us, and to my tour mates, Selina and Dallas, who are a hoot and just deeply, incredibly talented. So please buy their books. There was obviously more awful news today, and Thank you, Chris, for your opening. And I'm not sure like how much there is for me to say about it, except that it's awful. And, you know, we're about to go into this colonial holiday, and it's just like irony shooting at us like in every direction, and it's exhausting, and, you know, irony and trauma. So I hope you're taking care of yourselves, and I hope you're, you know, grieving in whatever way works for you. I am going to read 4 poems from my book, Exhibitionist, which was published in April with Coach House Books. The first poem I will read is called If You Love It, Let It Mold. The moon is at half its orbit around Earth, he texts me for the first time since we decided not to talk. Should look nice if we turn to the west. I've never seen a real wheel of cheese up close, but I've seen the moon, and this morning it's moldy. I think he meant to be romantic. I want to tell him about the kid I saw yesterday on the bus with an orange sucker stuck in her hair, plastic stick pointed at the sky. But I'm so pissed. I could crush a rock between my thumb and pointer. I could crush his puny moon like a Cheeto. He is the moon, at half its orbit around my 5-year plan, stuck like a sucker in my hair. If relationships were cheese, ours would be the kind the stock boy moves to the front of the rack to sell fast. Ours would pair well with Ritz crackers and Minute Maid. If relationships were rising suns, ours should look nice if we turn to the west. Home from A&W in winter after 7 beers. A girl in a pink tank top holds her own shoulders outside the frat house. Inside, someone shouts, "Fuck the patriarchy," and it warms us both. I want to be invited in for a drink. And in the morning, I want to walk myself across the quad without one shoe or the other. What is a quad? I run my tongue along the raw spot burned away by a hot fry. I've never been so ripe for the picking. The girl in the tank top gets kissed by a long-haired hockey boy, and I think of you. I hope the sad on my face looks cute to the dudes playing flip cup on the power box. I hope they want to save me from it. I'd like to be swept off this curb. Who lit these street lamps, and why do they love me so much? It's so hard to live in the world. I give the world my body, and the world gives me insomnia and meetings in pubs where I buy my own beer. I'm only here because my face is white, and my grandpa sells furnaces to all of America. I keep FaceTiming my friends so I can cry. I didn't come up with that myself. Everyone on Twitter is smarter than me. I'm the only one who thinks I'm fat, and it's ruining every day. I don't walk my dog enough. It's my fault she bit the Pomeranian. I like Brussels sprouts. I'm just not eating them. I bought some iron pills. They're still in the plastic. I followed all the hot fat girls on Instagram, but still I grab handfuls of my tummy like, fuck you. How many more days can I ignore the urgent email before I'm fired? How many can I spend staring at the philodendron before I water it? I love when someone suffers, because then I can help them. No one is helping me through this suffering except Mom, but duh, she doesn't count. Well, actually, maybe they're trying to help me, and I'm saying, no thank you, I don't want to go for ice cream tonight. It's been raining and raining, so I slink to the window and picture this. Mom pulls up in the Buick. I sprawl across the back seat and leave everything behind, even the books. On the prairie, I play Paper Mario in the basement for hours while Reese feeds me the crusts from her grilled cheeses. And when she's at school, I lie on the trampoline watching the bird feeder I made in freshman shop class. No birds come, but I've given the world my body, and the world has given it a rest. And this last poem I'm going to read is the last poem in the book. And I know it's like, that's supposed to be like giving away your final secret, and you're not supposed to do that, but this is the last event of our tour, so I think it's allowed. I think I'll allow it this one time. They will call this vulnerable. They will call this vulnerable because it's a book written by a woman and it checks the woman's book vibes. Heartbreak, check. Ghost children, check. Yearning, check-a-rooney, baby. When they call this a vulnerable exploration of womanhood, will they cite the ass stuff or say she was hurt so good? Is it vulnerable to write, I love my massive rack? Or is it just a fact? I want to tell you everything, like how I fantasize about lifting a car off all four sisters, pulling dad from a burning barn, jumping off a bridge to save a Jack Russell Terrier. But then I'd have to divorce myself from myself. Vulnerability is tricky like that. Fake it till you make it, Mom always says, and here's the book. Susan asked, can the last poem be just about you? And it's a trick question because it's always been about me. When I'm staring into your face and it's like you're the only man I've ever loved, I'm really thinking about the next time I'll feel so alive. Thank you. And now, my friend Selina Boan.
Hi. Thank you, Molly. Tansei Selina Nitsigasan, Otse no Tue Isweo Nukam, we are Oche Waterhen Lake Eskiagan, Egwa Namasam, we are Oche Flying Dusk Eskiagan, Ot Egwa Nigawewi, Monasquiao. So I'm a Nehewewin Cree language learner, and I was like to practice and introduce myself in the language. So I grew up with my mom, who is a settler on the unceded traditional territories of the Cowichan people. And on my dad's side of the family, my Cookum is from Waterhen Lake First Nation, and my Muslim is from Flying Dust First Nation, which are two reserves in northern Saskatchewan that are near each other. One, totally blown away by the readings already. Aedan, I absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on your chapbook. I'm so excited. I feel like I could have listened to you forever. And yeah, it has been a really tough few weeks, especially leading up to tomorrow. I know, to be honest, I'm never on Twitter that much, but I've been really off of it completely. And I probably will be staying away from social media for the most part tomorrow. And I hope folks, whether or not you're Indigenous, really take tomorrow to grieve and be with community and to really reflect and also just like love each other really hard, you know? I think that's super important. I'm hoping maybe I'll get to make some food and share it with some folks. So just sort of as Molly said, yeah, as we're grieving, you know, take care of yourself. I was thinking a lot about what I want to read because this is our final stop, and I want to say a huge thanks to Chris and to Greg from Octopus Books. I remember being a baby poet and going to Octopus Books and like sitting on the floor. It's like a small shop, and sitting on the floor and looking at all the poetry books. And, you know, I have Chris to thank and some folks in the crowd as well for I feel like I became a poet kind of during my time in Ottawa. And so I'm so grateful to that community. If you ever want to go and feel love as a poet, move to Ottawa, seriously. Folks are just so welcoming, and there's just an immense amount of like love there, I think. I mean, yeah, anyway, I'm so grateful. I'm gonna ramble and get all like emotional and teary. You know, obviously I had hoped I would be in person doing this and able to connect with some folks who are important to me in that city, but here we are. So I'm gonna start with a poem called Pastepia, which means like the water or floods that overflow. And it's a poem it's a poem about language learning, essentially. So Pastepio. The way an ice cube melts in the pocket between your teeth and cheek. I want to soften into my own body, move beyond this hour into the now of gentle futures. The nows of summers all glitter and hope scotch, joy's signs in Nehewewin neon LED, Kiam. What I mean to say is I meant to make more of myself today. I can't just say I want to learn the words Sakatawin and Pimatesi in Nehewewin. Colors are verbs. Things are being blue, are being green. And inside my fridge, last night looks like circles of creamed fat gone sour, half a lime on a box of eggs. Inside my mouth is a flooding apartment where a fig plant grows a mushroom at its root, where I circle the floor, mispronouncing words and laughing with the snap and wave of breath everywhere. Cupboards and salt floating through this world down moss-soaked stairs. How grammar knows us. How I'm learning to hold it together and undo myself in the city. To take my tongue off and put it on again. A bright neon pink sign. Don't you dare be ashamed. Don't you dare be shy. And this poem was inspired by the work of Joy T. Arcan, who's from Muskeg Lake Cree Nation. If you haven't, I've read this poem a few times, but if you haven't experienced or seen her work, I highly recommend. I believe she actually lives in Ottawa as well. And the last two lines are my translations of two of her pieces that she does in syllabics. And they're absolutely incredible. So that poem was inspired by her work. I'm really debating. Okay, so I have this poem and I think I am going to read it. And I'm going to read it with the caveat of just sort of talking about complex relationships to religion. So my dad is Cree, but he is also religious. He's Christian, and just sort of the complex thread of that. And I know that that's the case for other Indigenous folks, where there's sort of generational differences, and you see that influence. And so I'm going to share this poem. It's called Emails with Notui, and I've never read it aloud, so I feel actually kind of nervous to do it. I lift you from an email and into a dream. I hang a blue hip bone my cousin painted on my bedroom wall. When I undo time, it is 1,000 lichens attached to a branch, a crowd of emails, singing aloud, swaying to the words. See you soon. You pray, and I make a church with my hands. Here is the pinkied steeple, built next to wiggling nails. Here are all the people I have not yet met, who pray or don't pray, who offer me crackers and cheese later in the story, who orbit your life and our family too. I'm owed nothing the brief hinge of time won't heal. Between us, there is static. Inside this daughter email I send to you, offered days late, and after to your updates, my nieces are learning constellations, Indian Facebook memes, Cookum's leather work. I lift you from a dream into an email. A dog squeals like a tire outside, you as magnet, as turbine, rotating back into my life. I write myself mundane and friendly. This morning when I kiss time, it's the sun's reflection off a car window. It's my future kids with dirt in their hands, chattering to you about yarrow and telling fart jokes. See you soon. Easy enough to say a prayer, to hold your own hands and look up. I'm not religious, but I have prayed. I want to ask, how does your faith guide decisions? Do you choose the prairie or the sea? Do you move for someone you love? Does it make it easier? At dinner, I watch you say grace when my eyes should be closed. I write the moment into a poem and send it to you. And I actually, we were joking earlier about timing ourselves, but I don't know what time I'm at. So I think I have time for one more poem. One more? Yes? Okay. This one is called Run the Hurt. Run the hurt through water, through grass, along the river where reeds brush blood, skin, pus, where pain lets itself out little by little. There are words you don't want to write. A shape of history denied so many times, violence forms a country. If you are hurting, if you are uncertain, know that this body can hold itself to itself and undo at the same time. It is your grandmother lying in bed underneath a blue wool blanket, an article she cut from the newspaper waiting for you beside the sink. It is Kukum saying kisakatan with her hands, stitching beads to a leather purse you will one day hold. It is your questions to her on love, sovereignty, just washed hair. Learning in Nehewewin that verbs are at the center, how we move through this world. A heart, blue, red, yellow flowers circling each other. Is to feel, shake, kiss. To love so fiercely, it is a sky. Thank you. And now I am going to pass it off to the incredible Dallas.
Thanks, Selina. That was terrific. And I really admire you reading the poem you haven't read before. I'm going to do that tonight as well. I was inspired by you in that moment. I want to thank both ARC and Octopus for organizing, and Aedan for their incredible work as well. I was transfixed. It was great, and our fellow tour mate Molly, who, if you haven't heard, has air conditioning. So I think that anyway, once the revolution comes, I think anyway, let's just. So I'm going to read a few poems, and this has just been a really fun tour, and I'm so glad the three of us did it together. And I don't really have much else to say other than that. But thank you so much for sharing so much virtual space with me. It's really meant quite a bit to me. The first poem I'm going to read is called Woman Making Tea, which is the title of an Annie Padukuk painting. And if you don't know much about Annie Padukuk, it's Annie was is a very famous author and was exhibited in national galleries, and at that time was living on the streets, and eventually was discovered in a river in about 2016. And so in Ottawa, as a matter of fact. So I thought it would be, I just wanted to give a tribute to Annie and to actually presence Annie in the space. So I'm gonna do that now. So Woman Making Tea. You hold tight to a single hanging slingshot to protect against the flashbulbs and negligent headlines. Deadwood leaves shine light where safe shadows harbor those fleeing heavy hands. Writers' deadlines, complicit in flat lines, food lines, procession lines, looking for but unseeing the scoots. Gawking with the death of print culture weighing heavy, benefit from the benefits that keep the taste of perfect teeth in their mouths. Seeing your photo now, appreciating the gentle shadings of your eyebrows and the cracks that line your face, lines that hold constellations and such small, ordinary gifts that you gave to us all. And just like Selina, I'm also timing myself here. So this one is called Nathan Apotica. And it's a list poem, so my apologies. 1. Let me just check Zoom so y'all can hear me, right? I'm good? Okay, cool, because I'm on a PDF right now, my bad. Okay. 1. The dollar store down the street in Kitsilano sells 98-cent abalone shells with maple leaves stickered all over them. Heal me. 2. I don't want to be cremated, just place my corpse in Fort Edmonton Park so some unsuspecting settler can find me and I can ruin their day. 3. Fireworks are explosions. They disrupt networks of kin, hurt birds, and perforate my dog's eardrums. 4, settler colonialism. C, the crime you see now, it's hard to even take its measure. 5, a thing I'm rationally afraid of. The raised voice of an entitled white man. 6, multi-generational hurts are also fireworks. They paint an endless black expanse, bleed against a backdrop before fading into it. They are graffiti paint. 7, I keep mistakenly reading self-isolation as self-immolation. 8, occupation, a hoarse whisper, an accusation unevenly distributed, and yet true nonetheless, a faculty lunch conversation best avoided. 9, I'll eat stovetop stuffing every day of the year until sodium fills my lungs and my heart implodes before I'll celebrate Thanksgiving or Canada Day earnestly. 10, March 12th, 2020, I read that Justin Trudeau self-isolated and I let out a soft, involuntary moan. 11, a fictive coherence. See Canada, a Globe and Mail comment section, life is deferral, and survival with an open invitation toward death. 12, I wish I cared about anything as much as white people care about toilet paper. 13, my white grandfather lived and settled on the lands my Cree great-grandfather gave up so his daughter wouldn't have to attend residential school. 14, Sir John A. Macdonald was a drunken white supremacist, something I'll scream into the soft arches of your feet as they press into my temples. 15, a niece of mine was born so premature that my mother described her as being so small that you could fit her in your hand like a pound of butter. I'm going to read a poem I've never read before, and but it's fitting for me in this moment. It's called Common Spaces. And if I'm taking too much time, just give me a hard cut. I'm good with it. I'm fine with it. Common spaces. A hard truth no one prepares you for, that you can meet someone too late in life, that foreclosures happen where embers linger, hold hope, spill over, burn out. You feel every extinguishing fire, every flame limply cherry and fade. I think a lot of poems are about this, just dressed up differently. Form obscures, language obfuscates, but longing clarifies, longing sharpens, while stealing focus until all you have is something pure and painful, yearning. Desire is a struggling river, mud-clogged inclines, the largest couch in the world, a makeshift house of want, a laugh like an echo that rings out through time and space, like sugar, constant humming, so it's hard to shake, but especially when you won't loosen your grip. You think you're above it, and yet you're writing a love poem at age blank, blank, blank. You call it a love poem on the one hand and disavow it as such later. But longing knows when you're a liar, when you're trying to keep afloat, when desire is a struggling river. And I think I have time for maybe 2 more poems. Let me just check on the Zoom here. 2 more poems, can I do it? I'm getting some thumbs up. I'm gonna take it, great. Okay, so let's do them. One's gonna be very quick. And yeah, and if I feel like I'm going over, I'll just stop abruptly, and I'm okay with that. Okay, so this one is called Porcupine 4. So my cookum's tongue cuts through the air like a helicopter blade, thrumming acerbic nursery mobile, a bed fit to curse you with a spell no roadside crystal can remedy, a burial ground full of hipster dreamcatcher tattoos and smudge kits bought off Amazon for $19.99. The cure for existential angst, not for sale here. Vituperative stones fall from round mouths looking for gemstones, millstones. She'll let you gawk as long as you drown while you do it. And this last poem is for my mother, and it's called Cookum Freedom. Freedom is selecting the premium cable bundle even though you can't afford it, and even though all you watch are the film channels and TLC, falling asleep to John Hughes movie marathons or reruns of 90 Day Fiancé. Freedom is when the low fuel light shines bright on your dashboard, but you drive to work anyway, lifting your foot off the gas pedal as you careen downhill, momentum carrying you forward. Freedom is a phone bill that will never be paid, but you call your niece anyway to see if she'll come over to visit, gossip, and mop your floors for $20. Freedom is a bingo dabber that never runs out, because when it does, you remove the top and pour coffee in to mix with the ink. Freedom is a debt you can't escape, yet you charge another Slurpee to your overdraft debit card because it's sizzling outside, and blue raspberry is your favorite flavor, and they have it this time of year, and fuck them anyway. Hi. Thanks so much for listening to me, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
That was the most
Oh,
perfect poem to end with for this tour. I'm like,
fuck them anyway. Oh, that was so good.
it was so good.
That list poem is
I
incredible.
haven't heard you read it out loud, actually, I don't think. Maybe in a different reading, but not like for the tour, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my face when you were reading the list poem, but you had me at a couple moments. I was like, the toilet paper for white people. It got me.
That was amazing.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't get to do enough gushing about Dallas and Molly, who, if you don't have their book, please go buy it. This tour has been so lovely. I know, it didn't happen the way that we were imagining, but I'm glad that we did it regardless. And thank you to everyone who's here. I realize like it's already I guess it's 4:50 here, so it's 7:50.
Oh my God.
I know. I felt just totally, I was like, I could listen to everyone read forever. That was just
It didn't feel like that.
I know. Well, I guess we can say if folks have any questions. No, there was no rambling also. Sorry.
Absolutely not.
You know what? I think that sorry is justified, in my opinion. Just kidding. No.
Don't listen to him.
Yeah, if folks have any questions that they want to throw in the chat, by all means, please do. Does anyone have anything that's on their mind right now?
Well, maybe I'll just ask, what are y'all doing tomorrow? How are you going to spend your day on July 1st?
That's a great question.
I mean, this tour has really, it's really worn me down. So I think what I might do is just, relax on the, I don't know. I never know how to celebrate Canada Day. I used to have this ritual with a friend of mine that we would cook a bunch of curly fries because we loved curly fries, and we would watch a show that we hadn't watched before. So we would binge watch the whole thing. So we watched this UK show called Utopia, and we ate a bunch of curly fries, and it's probably one of my best Canada Days ever. So yeah,
That's beautiful.
It is. You're making me want curly fries now. I'm hungry.
you should get them. They're great.
I don't know. To be honest, I think I'm probably just gonna mostly be off social media, and I'm not sure. I don't know if there's things going on, sort of memorial events or anything like that. I don't know.
I think there's a Cancel Canada Day party in Vancouver.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna go to that?
Well, no, I'm driving tomorrow.
Well, it actually looks like there's one in Ottawa too here. Apparently.
Yeah, there's a rally tomorrow, which is what I'll be doing.
Yeah.
If there's something like that in Vancouver, I might go. But we'll see.
No, I'm driving home. So I'm driving home to Treaty 6 tomorrow. But I'm taking a stop at a hotel in Edson, Alberta. And I'm going to go see our pal, Jessica Johns. And I think we're probably going to eat pizza and shit talk the nation state. And I think it's going to be really lovely. Yeah.
Burn some flags.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually not bad. I might try to crash y'all's. I'm in Alberta right now, so maybe if you see somebody careening towards you, it's probably me. Being I want to, but yeah, anyway.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Crash our pizza party. Oh, sorry, my dog is poking up over here.
That, or I might go to Burger Baron. I'm in Alberta, and Burger Baron is
we
the
used
best.
to have a Burger Baron in PA too, but it closed when I was in 6th grade. But I still remember. I used to want to go there for my birthday all the time.
Oh yeah. You weren't wrong.
No.
That's amazing. Should I ask I can ask like a poem related question? How are how do I even phrase this question? I kind of want to ask a question, and this is kind of nerdy, about like line breaks, of whether folks sort of start off writing, like what your drafts kind of look like and how line breaks form, because I was noticing, I mean, even just like Dallas, you have such a talent for like a shorter line, which I love. And Molly, yours Aedan, I haven't seen yours in print yet, so I'm curious to hear that. And then, you know, Molly's, you've got like longer lines. I'm just curious to hear what folks, I don't know, get nerdy with me a little.
Molly,
Yeah.
you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll pick that up. Yeah, I do tend to do the longer line. I've got like 2 or 3 poems in the book maybe that are narrower. But the voice that I tend to write in is a little bit, I want it to feel quicker, like, because she gets pretty rambly sometimes, and she's kind of like doing an emotion dump. And the longer lines help with that. But like in terms of figuring out where I'm going to break, I definitely do it kind of intuitively as I'm writing, and I'm not like, I don't like to edit poetry. It absolutely, like, I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. But the one thing that I do is I go back and I look for new opportunities where I can, like, you know, make a really quick turn, or like pull something out that's kind of surprising. So that's like the one big editing thing that I do. But yeah, mostly it's just intuitive.
How about you, Aedan? How do you?
I think like Molly, it's pretty intuitive for me. I tend to like want to make certain points, and I feel like I generally do that in like shorter lines. So yeah, but most of it is intuition. And then sometimes I'll like put a longer line and I'll I'll rethink it. I'll be like, oh, do I really want that? And then I'll press the enter key and make it into a shorter one. But yeah, I think it's mostly intuition, yeah, for me.
Yeah, I think for me it's just what sort of makes sense, and what is kind of can either be jarring or sort of makes a sort of particular kind of sense. There's a poem that I don't read in my book because it's quite personal. It's called Mozart, Saskatchewan, and and they're just lines where I say exactly what I want to say, and I'll say something like, "A white man is shitty." That's exactly what I want that line to do, and then it carry, you know, enjambment, all of these ways that we, you know, come to know poetry and all the rhetoric and all that bullshit. But I want things to at times, but I preferably I don't know. I think things will change. Like I just like the sparseness of poetry at times. Like there are times when I'll write a poem and I just realized I was going to read this one today, which is essentially an essay, and I was like, nah, that would be boring for everyone. But it's yeah, I don't know. It's I think line breaks are one of the funnest things you can do or maybe not fun, but they can really get at they can really make some sort of, you know, declarative sort of statement without drawing attention to itself too much, right? It's kind of, you know what I mean? And it's, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's making me think of that line from the poem that you read about, I wrote it down. I think a lot of poems are about this, just dressed up differently. Form obscures, like the way that poets can hide a little bit as well, like the way that we choose to use form or the way that we choose to lineate. I remember, for me, I feel like so-called rules that I've learned about poetry, or like how you're supposed to break a line, or like what words to avoid, things like that. I think there's a part of me that always kind of wants to counter that a bit, you know, like be like, I am going to end a line with "and," like, so what? And yeah.
That's a really interesting question. Sorry, keep going. Finish your thought.
No, that was it. I was done.
Okay. No, but the question of like, what is the like stupidest poem writing rule that just like has stuck in your head and you can't shake it, even though it's dumb and it doesn't serve your writing practice?
Yeah.
Is that the one for you? Like, don't end a line with and?
It's one of them. I feel like there's such particularities. I remember one mentor in particular told me that they didn't like the word like tiny or small, that it was like sort of like a lazy word. And that for me has been something that I think has stuck in my head. Like I'll just like now look at a poem and be like, oh, you know, like it's like one of those ones where I don't necessarily believe it, but it's there somehow. And I'm like, oh no, I can't even, like it's weakened or something.
I've heard that rule before too, Selina, and I purposely have a poem in my collection called Small. And it's kind of like a fuck you in many ways. Yeah,
that's amazing. I didn't realize that was also a fuck. Yeah, that's good. I love that. What about you, Aedan?
I generally try my hardest to stay away from like and but as the beginning of a line. But like it doesn't always work out. Because I've like that was just something that was ingrained into me in like English class, I guess. That you shouldn't start with like or like the word because. And I definitely get what you were saying, Selina, about like words that could be more descriptive, I guess. So I'll try like I'll write something and then I'll look over it and I'll be like, could I have done that in like a more descriptive way? And if I can, then I kind of feel bad about it. But yeah, that's the most.
I do think though that there is something about like a well-placed and or but like that it like and yeah it can do a lot of work like in a way that I don't know. I think other, you know, I know we're not supposed to end with prepositions or begin with prepositions or conjunctions, all this bullshit, but it's sometimes it works. And I think that's partly why I kind of love poetry, because when it works. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a rhythm thing too. Sometimes you need the and or the but instead of, you know, the comma or the, you know, stanza break to like match the meter that you're kind of working with in your poem.
Yeah.
But for me, the big rule is like words that end with ing.
Oh yeah,
I go through and I take out all the ing words in my poems, and then a lot of times I end up putting them back in because it works better with the ing words. But I've just been so conditioned to like that's inactive.
Yeah. I'm also laughing because here we're nerding out and people are dropping out.
I know.
Things. I'm like, maybe we should wrap it up. We're just like fully nerding out on ands and buts here.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'll say though,
sticking around.
Yeah, I will say though, as an English professor, like somebody who's paid to do that, don't listen to that shit. Like just do your shit. Like there are things you're sort of encouraged to do, but sometimes when the right word works, whether it's an and or a but or an ing ending, like sometimes it works and it will work better than anything else. So I'm just kind of always like, yeah, just do it. I don't know. Anyway.
Professor Hunt has spoken.
Here we go. Mic drop again. How is everyone feeling? I feel like we should probably wrap up because I don't want to take, are breaking those colonial rules a way of talking back or subverting the Western form of poetry?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think I absolutely.
Oh, sorry, I like this combo. That's very nice.
Thank you, Aedan.
That's the first time anyone's ever said that to us. So
I know, I always laugh, like when you get poets in a room, we're just like, nerding out about very small things, details, little details. We like the details. Yeah, I do like that. I do think, yeah, it is something in terms of, you know, Dallas saying that kind of like, fuck you to the rules. Like, it is a little bit of, you know, that you start to ask, okay, who made these rules? Where are these rules coming from? And like, what does that look like? And I do think there is, I feel like there's like a shifting landscape, I guess, in sort of like poetry, and has been for a while. And, you know, we're following so many incredible folks who sort of like paved the way. I don't know. I'm getting all cheesy now. Oh, goodness.
But I think too, oh, sorry, Molly, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and Jessica Johns talks about how, I think it was a long time ago, a teacher told her to stop writing about dreams. And now she writes about dreams in literally everything she writes. And it's like, she's the biggest, like, fuck you to colonial writing rules writer that I know, I think.
It's true. It can also, yeah. Oh, sorry, Dallas, go.
No, Selina, go ahead.
I was going to say, it can also be a great indication of maybe, like, depending on who's telling you that, maybe it's an indication that, like, yeah, go for it, you know?
Yeah.
I think too, though, that, I mean, as at least as far as I know, I'm not sure, Aedan, if this is something you do as well, but I know that both of you are editors, which always, like, I think is such a fascinating. I don't think I could be an editor because I would constantly question myself and my sort of, all these kind of things. But like, how do you go about sort of navigating these, not only these sort of, little words and, as I said, like prepositions and conjunctions, but also trying to sort of subvert particular things that have been, imposed on a particular journal or what have you. Like, how do you engage with that, I guess, generally speaking? Like, do you even think about it, or do you just go?
I feel like for me personally, like English is technically my first language. So those rules are like so ingrained into my being, I think, but I actively have to tell myself, like, this is not something that has to be respected, and that's why I like to like include Inuujunga in my writing a lot of the time, even if it's just like the title of a poem, because I feel like that has more meaning sometimes than all the English words I know. So yeah, it can be difficult, I think, to like navigate that though.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love that. Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's like that weird like tension of writing in English where you're like, yeah, I'm writing in this colonized language. I mean, this is the language we're all speaking to each other in. So it's definitely like, I think, incorporating language or thinking about even in Inuujunga, like, I don't know what the grammar rules are, but it's something that I've been thinking a lot about, is like, how do you sort of like represent different grammars, I guess.
I guess my question was, I posed in a very shitty way, was like, how do you be an editor for a journal and then also on one hand, and then also think about subversion on the other, like, because obviously you're beholden to particular, like, how do you navigate that, I guess?
For me, I tend to not accept a piece unless I will publish it without the writer taking any of the edits that I offer. So I sort of just go in with the mindset that if they don't want to make any edits, I can still stand behind this piece. And my breadth is like pretty wide for what types of work that I will accept, because my poetry taste is very particular. And if I only liked things that really appealed to me, it would be a very small publication, to be honest. But poetry is so subjective that I think editors should be more expansive with what they're willing to publish. Which is not to say that I'm not rigorous as an editor. I hope that I've been rigorous enough with writers that they feel like their work has been made better in their own eyes. But at the end of the day, it's their piece. Like, I find it very weird when editors sort of like accept a poem and then all of a sudden it becomes their poem and it becomes very personal to them, like how it shows up. They didn't write it. They didn't write that poem. Like, why are you getting weird? I don't know.
I'm just taking a photo of everybody.
But yeah, I think there are too many. I think editors really need to take their own egos out of play more often than they do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that I think being like very open isn't always, I think my goal, especially like working with Rahila's Ghost and working with a lot of like fantastic emerging poets, that at the end of the day, my goal as an editor is to make sure that poet feels like their poems are where they're supposed to be. And that can look or feel anyway, but it's more about like a feeling. Like, I'll be like, how do
Octopus Books asked what my Inuujunga means. It means, it has two meanings actually, which I thought was very poignant. So the first meaning is I am Inuk, but it can also mean I am alive. So I thought that was really cool, and I was like, I need that as the title of my chapbook.
That's badass.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That is amazing.
Great note to end on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. You're alive.
Better than our like glitchy crap.
I don't know. I would watch a half hour of you making fun of a frozen Selina, but
that would have been. I think that should have been the whole reading.
The full roast.
Selina's like, William Shatner-esque. Like, he's very like, just very passionate. Yeah. But yeah, that was fun. It was the last. I'm sad. This sucks.
We are doing an encore. We're doing an encore in September.
That's what I hear potentially, but
that's great. Yeah, we'll be sure to try to share that as much as possible and bring everyone out to watch you again.
Run it back. Run it. Tour number 2. But yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully you will all be able to, those of you who aren't already in Ottawa, hopefully you'll all be able to come to Ottawa soon. The second doses are rolling up fast and heavy, so drop by and we'll welcome you all again. Thank you so much, Molly and Selina and Dallas and Aedan, for reading your wonderful poems tonight. I can't think of a better way to spend the last day of this month than with the 4 of you. I wanted to also give a huge thank you again to Octopus Books. If you're in Ottawa, drop by 116 3rd Avenue in the Glebe. You can find Selina and Dallas and Molly's books there. I should thank, for ARC's sake, our funders, which are the City of Ottawa and the Ontario Arts Council and the Canada Council for the Arts. But I don't want to say anything else. I just wish it could keep going. Stay off social media and give Selina a break tomorrow. And
Canada flags burning. I'm down with that.
Okay, that's allowed.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Burn some Canada flags. Dash Selina Boan. But okay, everyone. Well, so great to read with everybody.
Thank you so much.
It's been so fun, and I
Take
don't know
care.
if I want to do that, but yeah, bye.
Happy Wednesday.